Welcome to the Path Radio Spotlight. I am your host, Guido Perino. Today on the show, we're joined by a voice that helped define an era of hard rock, Robin McAuley. Robin's journey has taken him from the Irish countryside to stages around the world. From his early days with Grand Prix and Far Corporation to fronting the chart-topping McAuley-Schenker group, Robin's vocals became a signature sound for fans around the world. He stood shoulder to shoulder with legends Schenker, Pilsen, Reb Beach, and decades later, he's still pushing forward, not looking back. Most recently, he stepped out with his newest solo album, Soulbound, a record that's personal and powerful. Welcome to the show, Robin. How are you?
Guido, thank you so much. That's one hell of an intro. I'm not sure I can stand up and do all of that, but it's great to be here. And it's a long path, but we're still on it. So thank
That's
you.
right on. I'm really auditioning, Robin, because I'm auditioning that someday you'll let me introduce you on stage or something to that effect. I'm always doing these auditions when I do
If
this.
I'm still here, we will do that. We will do that.
Well, let's hope we're on that path where we're both still here. So,
Thank you.
um,
Thank you.
look, man, we're gonna get into music in a moment, but I want to ask. I understand Los Angeles is your current home, and I understand your roots are in County Meath, Ireland. And I was wondering, because I like to take listeners on tour all the time, well, I like to take them around the world. Can you tell us something about back home that you remember or miss compared to Los Angeles?
Oh, it's very different. So you're right. County Meath, Tara, Tara, like the movie. To be precise, is where I was born and raised. Uh, very famous for one particular person, the patron saint of Ireland, St. Patrick, that every country in the world celebrates because everyone's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. Um, oh, a very simple upbringing, a very large family of 10 children. I was like fourth rung from the bottom of the ladder. Um, we had nothing, but we wanted for nothing, really, is what I like to tell everybody. I have no idea how my parents, God rest their souls, ever managed, but they did. And I guess my dad went, one more, we'd have a soccer team, but to hell with it, I'm out of here. and and he passed, bless him. And my mom, I very quickly, um, not really a great deal to do where I was born. The local town, had what everything else has, shops, movie theaters, that sort of stuff. Um, I discovered long before I was 12 years of age, but at the age of 12, and I don't know why that specifically, I got to, with a bunch of my buddies, go see Thin Lizzy live up close and personal with less than 20 people in this tiny little club in my local town. And I think we sat cross-legged on the floor, and I'm going, oh my God, because you couldn't listen really to rock music on daytime Irish radio. There was this sort of preconceived thing that if you listen to rock music, you must be up all night or whatever. Um, and we would tune into the UK radio stations where you were more likely to get some harder rock if that was your thing. So I listened a lot to Motown music. I still do. I love Motown. It's what the melody is. It's what those great hook lines that is still great today as it ever was. So that was kind of my go-to listening thing. And then, there's a lot of traditional Irish music, rebel songs. We'll find a reason for a war. And there was one particular rebel song, "Whiskey in the Jar," that everybody knew because they'd sing it in the local pubs, and the more you drink, the better it gets. And Thin Lizzy did a remake, and it was all over the radio, nighttime radio, and suddenly daytime radio picked up and it was a massive hit, and I had an opportunity to go see them, and that was kind of the turning point. I went, oh my God, can you look at these guys play guitars? And it was actually, being 12 years of age, it was the original lineup of Thin Lizzy with
Wow.
Eric Bell on guitar, Brian Downey forever on drums, and of course the great and late Phil Lynott. And of course we were all sort of amazed because Phil was black and spoke better Dublin accent than any Dubliner. He was born and raised there, so there was something different for us. And that's the God's honest truth, We didn't see any black kids going to school. You
Yeah,
can't black kids anymore, African American
yeah.
and all of that. Um, and the next time I wanted to see Thin Lizzy, I couldn't actually get within 10 miles of the place because they just sort of blew up.
Ballooned.
And then I discovered Paul Rogers with Free, and my older brother, who's since passed, also. He was a
Mm.
drummer in the school band, and I wanted to be a drummer, and I'd sneak in behind his drum kit, which really wasn't a drum kit per se, snare drum or something in the school band, and he would beat the proverbial crap out of me because he was afraid I'd get on me, breaking my drum. But anyway, I ended up in a local band by accident playing drums, and I played drums for a number of years. I sucked. The guitars would go, you're a much better singer than you are a drummer.
You
And I never wanted to be a singer. I loved singing background vocals. The singer thought he was a better drummer, and he'd play drums, and we'd swap. He'd take the sticks, I'd take the mic. And it wasn't until I'm running around the place here just for one question.
That's
It,
okay.
it wasn't until I went to visit one of my sisters in London when I was 20. Um, and I'd never had alcohol as an Irish kid. Go figure, huh? There's a first.
celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
There's a
You've
first.
never had alcohol.
As
Wow.
a 20-year-old until I went to London. And Big Bad London sort of took me under her wing and went, you'll be a better man after a pint of Guinness. And I ended up in a local band in a local pub. Oh my God, for about 2.5 years, and segue into Grand Prix, but that's basically the short and fat of it right there. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And of everything you told me, what struck me actually is you started it all with family talk and the ten kids
Right.
and your parents and all that. And you were, for all intent and purpose, a middle child, fourth from
Yeah.
the lowest rung, one of the
Yeah.
middle children, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then you worked your way into being a music hobbyist on the drums.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, we're
Sorry.
all we're all carved from the same branch.
And I
Yeah.
say that for folks that are listening, because when you and I, before
Uh,
we hit the record button, Robin said to me, "Do you play?" And I've said before, well, I'm a music hobbyist. I separate
obvious.
myself from real musicians, from professional musicians. So, but that's quite the story. That's quite the story, bringing you around. And now a big part of where you live, and I love this because it's almost like you're foreshadowing here, includes who you live with. And I understand that, congratulations, you've been married for a long time, 30 plus years, and you've raised your
Yeah.
own family. Um, can you
Been
give
on
us
31 years in the same woman.
30, 31 years? That's what I say.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you give us some insight into how your relationship with your wife, and your role as a father, or maybe even, like with your own dad and your own larger family that you talked about, may
Ah,
have shaped the man behind the voice that we hear, and how much of that has crept into the music?
oh, great question. Um, Family really has always been, it's kind of my center. Keeps me grounded. Um, I love family. I don't mind repetitive things. Um, my mother, I forgot to mention, was a great accordion player. And we lived way too close to the local pub. And, as was typical in Ireland, um, people would spill out of the pub and go to the closest house that had more music going on. And there was always music in my house. My mother was a great piano accordion player. Um, but again, what I said in the beginning, we had nothing, but we wanted for nothing. And now I'm I'm growing up, really my real growing up, the in adulthood, if you will. I would say took place in London. Um, and I joined a band called Grand Prix because they came and saw me singing top 40 music and went, "Hey, you want to sing real music?" And when when I joined those guys, they were already signed to RCA Records, and then um, uh, a small story. I replaced their singer at the time, who was Canadian.
Go
Who's
Canada.
Canadian? Can I just stick that in there? And his name is Bernie Shaw, and he went on to join Uriah Heep and has been in Uriah Heep since the mid '80s. It's just incredible. As well as the keyboard player at the time from Grand Prix, Phil Landon, is also in Uriah Heep. So small incestuous kind of a world here. Um, so I joined Grand Prix. Um, we ran as far as we could. We toured with Iron Maiden. We did all of that. Sammy Hagar. We did all that sort of stuff. Um, and while I was with Grand Prix, getting to my wife in a second, um, 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 Mcauley-Schenker came to one of the shows, saw me sing, uh, got a call the next morning from the late and great Cozy Powell's camp, and said, saying, "We loved it. We're rehearsing. Love you to come to the studio." And I went, "Can't do that because I'm just about to jump on a tour bus and open up for Sammy Hagar." And I got so much bad press, this young Irish upstart, how dare he refuse to join Mcauley-Schenker, and I went, well, what am I going to do? Jump ship and like be the worst guy in the world, drop my
Yeah.
band in it, just on the eve of a tour. Um, and that ran its course. Now I do actually end up 4 years later joining Mcauley-Schenker. Takes me to Europe. We are now McAuley-Schenker group. We're opening up for Def Leppard on the Hysteria tour. And I walked out of an elevator in Vienna in the hotel lobby, and this most beautiful woman in the world walked out, and I went, "Oh my God." And she knows the story. I was big on Bridget Nielsen at the time because of that cheeky punk, that whole look. And there was no Rocky involved at the time with Sylvester Stallone. But anyway, she had that sort of cheeky, punky look about her. And I went, "Oh my God, this is incredible." Um, and then there was a sort of an after show party with Leopard, and lo and behold, there she was. And sort of we got chit chatting, and she did the chit chatting because I just, excuse my French, live, and I don't have the balls to approach anybody. Never have had. Never have had. I hate rejection, man.
Uh,
Anyway. We sort of hung out together for about 3, 4 weeks, and I wanted it and I didn't want it because I was busy. I was touring and I was like blah blah blah, but it wasn't that sort of a getting together. We just had this sort of calmness in each
hmm.
other's company. Anyway, tour ended. I never saw her again. I was living now in Los Angeles. I've been here for about 36 years. Um, and at some point, I guess a tour came up and it took us back to Vienna. And I went, "Oh, I wonder whatever happened to so and so." And I met her, and she went, "You remember me? Because I sent you all of those letters and I never got a reply." And it turned out that all of those letters actually ended up at the management company in New York.
Oh.
And they opened them up and they went, "Are you reading this stuff?" And then they dumped it. So I never got to see any of it. And she explained all of that, and I went, "Well, it's not my fault." But fast forward, we're 31 years married. We have twin
Yeah.
boys. They turned 26 years of age on Valentine's Day, and our son
Wow.
Casey just gave us a grandson 3 months ago.
Wow. Congratulations. That sounds
And
beautiful.
yeah, family is super important to me. She's been my rock, no pun intended here, or pun intended.
Yeah.
Um, Very always really supportive. If I'm home for too long, she goes, "Shouldn't you be doing something?" Because she knows that music's kind of my happy place, and I'm like miserable as hell if I'm not doing my music. Um, so she's always been fully there behind me, and not to keep segueing in or out of the picture,
Yeah.
but when the boys were 14, I got a huge offer to be part of a Vegas residency called Raiding the Rock Vault. I was there for 7 years, 1,500 shows plus 5 nights a week. Used to be 6 nights a week, and I would travel back home to LA and only be home for 2 days. And as she said, we have to reset when you walk through that door because you're like a tornado coming through there. You're still on like this time zone and you're still woo up here. So we go, Dad's home. And then you leave,
Right.
woo, we're back to normal again. And she handled the reins throughout all of that period, and just I can't have enough good things to say about the woman. And
Like
she is
every
hugely accomplished herself as a professional person. She's an executive director for mental health. She's a
beautiful.
nurse. She just became a nurse throughout the pandemic because we had no work and I was home. It was always on her bucket list. And she goes, remember, I always wanted to be a nurse. I'm going to do it now. She was actually one of the very first nurses to administer the COVID vaccine, uh,
Wow.
which they were all extremely nervous about, dressed up on their hazmat gear.
Sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
long story. I have really long answers, so I apologize.
No, that's a phenomenal story, and thank you for sharing that because there's just so many insights and they're so personal. Right from, there's so many pieces I could go back to. I think initially I was in awe because you said, my mom played the accordion and you live next to the bars, and then I'm thinking back, but you never drank. Oh, you were 20 years old and you still never
I
had
know,
a
right?
drink.
I
And
know.
I want to go through the streets of Ireland and just go to these pubs and play and listen to these folks play. But then, you
But
take
I
us
drink
into,
now.
but you drink now, right? Cheers. Cheers, whatever's in your cup.
But yeah, just good
Right.
old tea. Good
But you
old
do,
tea.
you bring us back around, you bring us back around to your wife and the relationships. And I really like the idea. You're coming back home and you're on the high of the music, right? You're coming back home and things are a little different at home. But she still, you said, you know what? She stabilizes, she gives you that balance. She
Yeah,
kind of gave you all that, right?
I mean,
So,
I know some people can, maybe, I don't know, maybe they can. I don't. Speaking for myself, I need it. I
yeah.
need it. I've always have. Um, I'm in a good place. Um, um, and that doesn't mean to say that you become complacent and reliant on somebody to take care of business.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. You have to do your share. You have to buy the
Yeah.
flowers. You have to
You
tell
have a
that person
partnership.
you love them. You have to be a dad, the best dad you can be, given the fact that you're out the door a lot. Um, and it's hard to run a house and home and get kids to school and I I know I used to arrive home at about 3:30 a.m. Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and I would drive from Vegas, which is about 4.5 hours from me, because you couldn't get a flight. And if I came
Right.
into LAX, it would take me 2 hours to get from the damn airport. So I would use it as a sort of to decompress, right?
Yeah.
And I thought one of these nights, maybe I'll be extradited. I'll pull off somewhere to have a pee because I can't keep going, and then the aliens will come and get me, and that'll be another story.
Do
You
you
ever
believe
have?
in aliens? Do you? Do
Oh
you
my! Are
believe in
you
them?
kidding me? Of course I
Do
do.
you?
Oh,
Right on.
absolutely, 100%.
Okay,
And
so
I'll
being out
answer.
where,
Let me finish.
yeah.
I used to listen to um uh 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 Coast
Oh, coast to coast.
Coast to Coast with
Yeah,
George Story and George
yeah,
Knapp. And I'm going, come on, guys. I've
yeah.
been here now for 7 years. No aliens. Come on. And sometimes George Knapp would actually come to the show. I actually met him several times, and he invited me onto his uh, show with the ufologists. And then I said, "Can I ask questions?" He goes, "You can ask whatever you want," because
I
he's a real ufologist.
I digress a little bit. So you're on the road from Vegas to LA. Did you spot anything ever? Did you ever see anything questionable ever? I don't want to turn this into coast to coast, but we just walked through the door, so I'm just asking, like, did you see anything questionable?
Guido, I wanted to. I wanted to, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they're probably heading toward New Mexico right now. I'm heading the wrong direction.
Oh man.
Yeah, they weren't heading from Vegas to LA. I was going the wrong direction.
Well, listen, I'm sure that if they were around, they'd be Robin McAuley music fans because
Yeah.
with what you've told us, you know, and some of the history of your music, you've lived through a full arc of hard rock of the entire scene through your years, and from its heyday to its reinvention, and you're part of its reinvention now. And I'm wondering now, like when you step into the studio. And you're full of fire, Robin. It's beautiful. It's beautiful from your like your history stories to today. You're full of fire. Is it the same fire that drives you? Has it evolved into something more personal? And it's interesting because you even, for me, you touched a little bit on therapeutic at times. So is it that too?
Excellent. I don't think of it so much like that, but of course, my wife is excellent therapist. My son Jamie is about to start his master's program to become a therapist. So maybe it's because I'm surrounded by it. I don't know, but it is. Oh, it would be unfair to call it an outlet. It's so much more than that. I mean, when I
Mm,
step into the studio, um, there's a bunch of different funny stories about the studio for me because uh, it's a great place for me. I love to be creative. Again, we love to say to digress, but just a very short digression here. When our boys were born, I was in Japan soon thereafter, and I missed our son Jamie's first steps. And I was so bummed because
mm,
I was out on the road. I was in Japan. I missed his first steps, and I came home, and I'm going. I just have to stop what I'm doing. I just have to be home. I have to be around the boys. I need to I need to live this moment as it's happening. And Gina said, "Well, it wasn't your fault. Blah blah blah. You're here now." And it was weeks later when Casey took his first steps. He walked like 5 or 10 steps, and then he didn't walk again for 3 weeks. It was like the craziest thing. But I did literally hold the plug on on
mm,
on me going out on the road. Um, there also wasn't a great deal of work because they were born in 99, so it was right at that time when the whole industry was changing from
yeah,
the sort of melodic hard rock to something else.
yeah,
And there was no place for the long-haired rockers, so to speak. And we won't mention that other, group of musicians or whatever. But I got into graphic arts. I went
mhm.
back into college. It was a whole
Oh
new
wow.
thing for me. Knew nothing about it. I had some friends that worked for. I'm going to drop two names. The hair companies like Wella and Sebastian, hair and
Yeah.
makeup. And I got into hair, skin, and makeup manufacturing. And I did silk screening, and I was like the lead production artist. I mean, I
Ah,
went from knowing nothing to running the that side of the art department. And I wanted to be around the boys. I just wanted to
yeah.
concentrate on that. Plus the fact I wanted a regular paycheck. I wanted medical and vision and dental, and I wanted everything for the boys that I didn't necessarily have myself growing
Mm,
up because the times were different. And so I wanted all of that. Um, and I couldn't possibly want my wife to do it all by herself. I just,
right.
just wasn't in my DNA to do that, growing up around such a lot of siblings. Um, and although you didn't ask the question, in the middle of all of that, um, I had a call from the survivor camp because I had been working with Frankie Sullivan kind of at the end of the McAuley-Schenker period. We come up with a record that nobody was interested in because they just weren't. But he had offered me the Survivor slot at the time, and I went, Survivor's a pop band. I want to join a rock band. And we would have a joke about that. And so suddenly all of these emails are coming in. Now the boys are 5, and my wife is going, "Hey, you ever answered that email?" And I go, "Nah, I know what he wants. I'm not interested." And she goes, "Well, it might be just sort of nice to sort of answer it and say, well, thanks, but no thanks." And anyway, they kept it up, and of course, I joined Survivor. But I was only away for the weekends, kind of thing, for about 5 or 6 years, and it was great. Wonderful catalog of music,
Yeah.
just great stuff. I was only in a month or two, and now we're on Dancing with the Stars. And everybody, including my boss in the art department, is going, "Well, you girls, you like watching Dancing with the Stars.
Uh,
Guess who's on it next Tuesday?" And I wasn't saying anything. Of course, I wasn't saying anything. And she goes, "Isn't that right, Robin? And we're all coming, aren't we?" So yeah, I've been through a few doors of different things, but I always put back to the family. Family was
yeah.
what the motivation was, because um, I like coming home to my family. And if I
Yeah.
didn't take care of the family, there was no fun in going away, and there was nothing to come back to. And I wanted to come back to something that was mine, I suppose. Does that sound like cheesy? I don't know.
No, it
Whatever.
sounds really comforting. And you reminded me that, at the time that you're talking about, that time period, stuff like FaceTime, right?
Oh,
That didn't really
it
exist, right?
did not
We didn't
exist.
have the technology. And I was just at a
Pagers.
concert,
Don't you remember pagers?
pagers, right? Yeah, like, beep, 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 beep. And I was just at a concert, and the act that I was seeing, we were at a venue where they do an intermission, and
Right.
they take a break, and you kind of go do stuff, and then they come back, and the fellow, he was a country act, he was Brett Kissel, and he said, you know what, this is odd to me, I don't really get intermissions, but I'm going to take advantage of this because my little girl is doing a recital, and my wife is offered to FaceTime me so I don't miss the recital. Right. And
Ah,
you just made me think of that because you're talking about, the boys and the first step, and thinking back then we didn't have things like FaceTime where you could do something like that and say, you know what, maybe I'll see them live, or have that interaction with them. And even my parents, my dad's passed now, but my mom, this whole FaceTime thing, she's 91 years old, and just being able to see family, being able to see each other, even though she lives far away, in that capacity, is just something phenomenal.
when my
Um,
boys graduated from high school, I was in Madrid with MSG,
yeah,
and I alarmed my clock, and I watched the entire graduation ceremony on FaceTime at
there you go.
3 a.m. in the morning in Madrid, and I
Right.
sat up in bed watching the whole thing, and I was able to talk with them and talk with my wife, and I didn't want to miss it, and thank
Yeah.
God for FaceTime or whatever was available, but it was
See, it's the evolution, and family
yeah,
kind of triggers back into
yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
And you brought up Survivor because I was gonna say, hey, again, you're foreshadowing a little bit. This is awesome. Part of your music journey includes have been part of some iconic hard rock moments with MSG, of course. Survivor, you had the Eye of the Tiger there for a while. Black Swan is where you're dealing with Black Swan right there. You got the shirt on right now, right? And so as I'm saying, like looking back at your time as you're playing with these bands, um, did you have any type of, and maybe you alluded to a little bit with Survivor, did you have anything like a personal turning point, not just career wise, but one that changed your perspective on life? And maybe you gave us a little bit of a window into that with Survivor, but
Actually, long before Survivor, I was still in Europe. Excuse me, and um, everybody has a beginning, a middle, and an end, I suppose, and that's how I kind of structure songs, like a book: a beginning, a middle, and an end.
yeah,
And um, when I lived in London, I worked set production at the BBC for years. And while I was working at the BBC, was kind of at the tail end of my Grand Prix years, because sometimes you have to supplement it with a real job, because there just wasn't that much
yeah,
income coming in, and rent is still a real thing, man. And so I'm on the BBC, and I'm doing set production, and we used to watch, anybody who's as old as me, BBC used to do every Thursday, would have a show called Top of the Pops, which was a rundown of the top 40, and more specifically the top 10 of the week. And I had uh, I had left. The Grand Prix had come to an end. I had Filthy Taylor, the drummer from Motorhead, Brian Robertson, who was one of Thin Lizzy's guitar players, together with Brian Downey, was also in Motorhead, and they both left Motorhead. I get a call, hey, you want to come and join a band with us? We have the bass player from the Alex Harvey band, who is also MSG's bass player, Chris Glenn, and we need a singer. We'd love you to be the singer. And so now I'm the singer in this thing called GMT, which was actually Glenn McAuley-Taylor. Brian decided to leave, took us to Frankfurt, Germany. I'll get to the point here, trust me. The turning point. And I ended up in Frankfurt with a producer called Frank Farian, who was famous for Boney M, which was, I think,
Yeah,
huge in Canada, 9 times platinum, I think, Boney M,
yeah.
if I remember correctly. And he said, I want you to sing this song. And he played it, and it was Stairway to Heaven. And I started laughing, and I'm going, you can't do that. Nobody records a Zeppelin song as a signal. He goes, no, that's okay. We have licensing rights and blah, blah, blah. I need you to sing the first 6 minutes, and then somebody else will sing the end. And I'm going, what, two singers on the same song? This is like, ooh. This was in 1985. And
Yeah.
that other singer just so happened to be the most awesome Bobby Kimball from Toto. And so Bobby and myself were main features on Stairway to Heaven, back to the BBC. I'm still working the BBC, and Stairway to Heaven was released and landed on the number 8 slot in the top 10. So I'm having all of these set production people, carpenters and the like that I worked with going, look, he's on top of the pops. And I still wouldn't leave because I was not convinced that this was a turning point. I could leave my real job now because because it just was a little too surreal.
Huh.
And I hung on for a little bit longer, and I had no choice but to leave because I suddenly got really, really busy, and
Yeah.
we sold over 2 million singles alone just in the in the UK, and then the album went top 40. We made another one, and that kind of really was the turning point.
What a
Um,
great story. What a
Survivor
great.
was Survivor was years later of me. I wasn't even LA wasn't even in my
Huh.
crosshairs at that point because perfect timing still had to come with Mcauley-Shenker, and Save
Right.
Yourself had to come, and then the last one. And then Survivor didn't come till the end of Mcauley-Shenker period,
Yeah.
really speaking, or in the middle, something like that. And so, um, yeah, uh, until you ask the questions, I don't sometimes
No,
re
it's like what
remember half the stuff until I'm going, oh my God, that did happen right there at that point. Yes.
I'm thinking. What a great story. You got to write a book. Like this
Uh,
is book material. Like this is, and I'm sure, if we weren't doing this in our limited, space and time here, those stories, like you probably can go much deeper than what you're able to hear, and there's just some
I don't
phenomenal
know.
tales I think to be told here.
I'll just stick a little humor in. Soulbound is my third solo
Yeah.
record with Frontiers. I never wanted to do the first one, Standing on the Edge, because I had CEO Serafino come on the phone and talk to me about, we'd love to do a solo record with, going, no, I don't want to do a solo record. Who the hell would listen to a solo record from me? Nobody knows me outside of the realm of MSG. Um, and then jump around again. We just finished the third Black Swan record for Frontiers Records. So in the space of 4 years, I've now recorded actually 6 records for Frontiers from not wanting to do one in the beginning.
Welcome
Um,
back.
and it's been a very productive period. I'm busier now than I ever was. It's kind of stupidly crazy, but I love it, Guido. I just have so much fun doing it. I worry about my voice because that's my go-to guy. That's
Yeah.
my instrument, And at my age, I thought I'd be just home.
But you're not, and you're making good music and you sound good. So we love it and keep doing it. And you could listen, you could tell, like I was listening to the music and the album and you could tell there's an energy there. So let's talk about that for a moment because we're getting into that. We're talking about life moments and transitions, and you recently released a new album. It's called Soulbound. Now, the title itself, Soulbound, suggests to me something deeply personal or maybe something inescapable. Um, do you have a story behind the title and
Well, I didn't actually write Soulbound, so
okay.
I won't bore you. So so the process, is remote. That's just how we work these days. Um, Standing on the Edge, which was my first solo, I wrote beginning to end for the most part with Alessandro Del Vecchio, who worked. He was the in-house Frontiers guy. Same as I did for this follow-up, Alive. Same thing again. Same guitar player always, Andrea Cerveza. Very important for me to mention him because he's my hero. He's just, I love his melody. I love his melodies, his guitar tone. And he got more involved with the writing on this third record, the
Mm,
Soulbound, um, of which Alessandro was still a part of until he left the label kind of midway through me demoing the
mm,
selected 11 songs. Now we bring in a brand new Frontiers guy, Aldo Lenobile, and Aldo comes in as the new Frontiers guy replacing Alessandro. Um, and as you would expect, he needs to put his stamp on it. But in my conversations with Alessandro while I was still there, I went, I want a more guitar driven record for this third solo record. I want to do more of the same. First one, I was like playing around, not really sure what I was supposed to do. Second one, I kind of found my feet a little bit more. Now I really want to just take this more guitar driven. So Alessandro and Andrea, everybody's initial, which you'll discover very quickly, all A's. It's an A-class band. That's all I have to tell you. So Andrea got a lot more involved with the writing. I submitted my choice of 11 songs. Aldo, another A, comes into the picture and he goes, I have maybe 5 or 6 different songs that I would like to
mm,
push onto your desk and see what you think, just to mix it up a little bit. He goes, but I agree. I love the idea of more guitar driven. The tracks are already looking like that's how it's going to be. Soulbound landed on my desk, written by 2 Swedes, Teresa Persson, who goes under the name of Tezzy. She's a great singer,
mhm.
performer, and Jan Ackerson. And I listened to the song and I went, oh my God, I just love these lyrics. And I loved the melody. And I went, said to Aldo, I don't know if that's me or not, but I just kind of like it. Can I demo it and see what I do with it and just give it a little bit
Mm.
more of a grit and a different edge? And he goes, have at it. That's why I sent it to you. It was just something, you don't have to use it, just have a listen. And the title grabbed me immediately because whether it was the divine providence, most of the lyrical content that I had been writing up to this point sort of went, there's the icing on the cake. This is the one that's
Right.
going to bring this whole thing together. So I demoed it, I sent it back, and he goes, oh my God, this is great. This is great. Tell me you're going to use it. And I went, I think I'd like to use the title also as the album title. He goes, whoa, we're way ahead of the game here. He says, but your record. And I went, it's going to fit. Trust me, it'll fit in with everything
Yeah.
else that I've written. And uh, I gave it my twist, my sort of voice. That's a horrible thing to say, but that's what I did. I put my
Yeah.
voice on it and made it sort of mine. Is it profound? It kind of is because it, as I said, it lent itself to everything else that lyrically I had written on the record, and it's almost like Teresa was going, I know where you're going with this.
That's awesome.
And I went, some things are meant to happen, and if a song is a good song, I don't care if I write it or not, doesn't really matter. Um,
See, this is
um,
great because I didn't know that you didn't pen that, but
yeah, that's the only one.
your performance on it and your connection with it made me ask the question, are you were you
Yeah, and
bound to
that's
it somehow,
yeah,
right?
and that was important. And
Yeah.
again, so much so that I loved the title, and I went, this
Mm.
will make sense now. It was, once I heard it, it was making sense to me that this had to be the album title, because the rest of the songs were going, yes, of course it is. And the songs were like screaming at me, this has to be the title, blah blah blah. And it's the only track on the Soulbound record that's a little bit different than the rest of them. It's the only one that has a sort of a little symphonic feel to it, which I really love anyway. um and I wanted that again. I hate more of this, all of the same, and I didn't want a filler, and I went, okay. And then I have the best, I have to mention him, Nello Del Olmo, who does all my artwork for the solo stuff. He just, the man is just, he's the real artist, the graphic artist, the real artist. I go, listen, I'm going to just throw this at you, and I'm not going to interfere like I did on the first two records and tell you exactly what it is that you should be doing. But it has to be a little light into the dark, and has to be gothic and blah blah blah. And of course he comes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. I know exactly. And he threw that back at me, and I went, oh my god! And I will show you. Look, it's look in glossy format.
Yeah. Wow.
It is just,
Oh, that's beautiful.
it's
I love
awesome.
that.
It's awesome. And look at that.
Oh,
I
I
know.
love
So I
that.
keep this close to me because it's just, you
That's
know,
beautiful, eh?
it's just great. So when
Hmm.
you when you're as lucky as me to be surrounded by people who just think, get the craziness that's coming out of your head, and they're trying to run down the same track with me and going, shh, I
Yeah.
can't keep up with this guy. Too many ideas all at once.
Yeah, you seem to have a very personal connection with everybody that you work with. There seems to be a lot of trust and respect with all the names you're mentioning and the journey that you've had with folks. And it just demonstrates, it comes out in what you're producing, Robin.
I love good people. I love
Yeah.
good people who produce good work. It just makes you want to be around them. And it's like, and here's the crazy thing. I've never met any of these people. I have never walked and given them a hug or shaking their hand,
Because you're saying the virtual world now.
because it's virtual world. But the great thing about it
Yeah.
is that on Sunday of this week, I will actually be on stage performing with the whole band that's on Soulbound for the first time. And I leave actually at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I have to get in there jet lagged like crazy. And I have to rehearse with this band that I've never walked into a room with, and still do a show in front of the record label whom I've never met.
I was gonna ask, listen, I was gonna ask you a little bit later about it because
Oh
I
God.
was exchanging text with Jody. So just tell us quickly about that. So Frontiers, you're doing a show, you're doing a live
So
event.
Frontiers Rock
Yeah,
Festival, which they haven't done in years now, they brought it back, and
yeah.
it's a 3 day festival of just all the music that you love. It's just all melodic rock, just all of their, not all, but mostly all of their bands coming together for a 3 day festival in Milan. 25th, 6th, and 7th. I'm on the last day on Sunday. And there's so many bands that I really want to see. Of course, I'll see my old buddy Red Beach from Winger, because he's also my Black Swan buddy. And they're on Saturday. I just saw him on. I just did the Monsters of Rock cruise with Mcauley-Schenker, and
Oh,
he
right on.
was on there too. And he goes, "Dude, bro," he goes, "People are asking if we should do a Black Swan song. What do you think we should do?" And I went, "Don't even come to me asking me. We can't even tour. You're not getting a song from me." So I'll see a lot of people that I haven't
That's
seen in a
awesome.
while, and some new people. And so it's going to be an awesome festival. And of course I get to meet all the Frontiers. I just had an email this morning. Can we have a company meeting at breakfast on the morning after I arrive? And I'm going, huh? So I'm thinking, oh boy, it's it'll be really exciting.
So
I just have to make sure that my voice is not all jet lagged out like
the
crazy.
27th, Milan. Where do we get tickets?
Plan.
Where do they get tickets, folks?
If you go to Frontiers Music SRL or Frontiers Rock Festival 2025, all the info will be on the official Frontiers
We'll
website
get that.
or
We'll
on
get that info.
my official Facebook site. You'll see all the info on there.
Great.
Yeah,
I'll get those into the notes so folks
fantastic.
can figure that out. So listen, we talked so much about the Soulbound and the song and the album, but that's not the song that you lead off the album with. It's Till I
No,
Die.
no. So "Till I Die" was the very first song that I wrote, and because I was so eager to have Andrea Silvestro really push those
Mhm.
guitars, I heard that riff, and I'm going, this is just going to be great. No idea. I mean, when I sit down to write, I read a lot. You know, I love I love old
Yeah.
Hollywood horror movies. I'm a huge vampire freak. I don't know why. I just love vampires. The very
Are you a Vincent Price fan by chance?
Oh my God,
I
who
love
is
Vincent Price. I
Oh
love
my
him.
God, phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal. And my father, God rest his soul, uh, another short segue, was a
Yeah.
soldier. Was a soldier when he came out of the army. Um, Ireland really doesn't have an army, but you know, you got drafted into the English army to fight the wars, right? Anyway, so he became what they call in Ireland famous for our thoroughbred racehorses. He became a stud groom. So he worked
Yeah.
in a castle very close to our house, where I was born and raised. And he used to bring thoroughbred horses into the world. That was his gig.
Right
He
on.
used to he used to ride his bicycle. That's how he died. God rest his soul.
Mm-mm.
Knocked off his bicycle. But he worked in this castle stables, and everything was handwritten into a diary of where the
Wow.
horses, filly from, colt from, blah blah blah. And so one day he came home and he said, "Here, read this." And he handed me paperback Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Wow.
And he used to read that probably by candlelight or a flashlight in the dead of night in this stables. And he would read that book. And I'm thinking, and I was hooked. I was like hooked. I made subscriptions to this writer called Dennis Wheatley, which was all about a cult and all of that sort of stuff. And I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
I'm a very Christian
Yeah.
person. Um,
But it's entertainment. It's
I
entertainment.
was
That's what it is.
fascinated by all of this stuff. Huge Stephen King fan. Oh my God. You
Right.
know, the cover of Save Yourself was
Right on.
inspired by Stephen King from the clown It, which if you ever wanted to
Yeah.
get into the cover, I'll show you everything about the clown. Which people go, I don't see it. Well, I said you're not looking. And so Vincent Price, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just all of that kind of stuff. So when I get into lyrics, I have a tendency to go down that sort of vampire rabbit
Yeah.
hole. Like Immortal Souls from the Black Swan record is total. I came into Jeff Pilson and I went, dude, I got a song about vampires. He said, of course you do.
So
and and so I don't know where I'm going with any
no,
of
no,
this.
it's okay. It's okay because we were talking about the Till I Die bold opener, and
Yes,
we
yes,
were
oh
saying
yes,
about the connection back to the horrors,
yes,
and I'm sitting there thinking, and you kind of said it a little bit. I hear Till I Die, and I'm thinking, wow, is this going to set the tone for the rest of what I'm going to
right,
hear? And you've said even before I said that stuff, you're like, you know what? I really wanted this to be about the guitars. I really wanted to bring out that sound, and it
yes,
kind of does that, right? So
and
you're
it does,
you
and
give
it
the
does.
answer in terms of
Yeah,
this is
and
where
the whole
the
"Till I Die" is kind of it was kind of me thinking, how am I going to support this guitar work? That was my
right.
first. And I was so confused about, oh my God, now I'm lost. Now he gave me this great piece of music. I don't know what to do with it. And then I felt like this running away. I went, you know what? I'm not going to do this. And I'm just gonna leave in my mind, and just forget it. You know, I don't want to do it. And then running started to come in the lyric. You know, I'm running, and I'm running away from what? I was running actually away from myself. I was running towards something. I never knew if I was actually going to get there. But on the chorus, it's like, I relied upon that sort of higher power to go, it's okay. Okay, we got this,
Yeah.
If I see the morning, if I see the sunrise in your eyes, right? And that's what it was. It's going to be okay. And when it came to the video director called and he goes, okay, I got a great stage set up for you. I got the mics, got this great lighting. And I went, I don't want to do that. And he goes, but that's what we do. We have to do a live shot. And I went, but why do we have to always do the same sort of stuff? I said, I'm thinking more sort of Quentin Tarantino. I'm thinking sort of something a little wacky, something that really doesn't know what you're running from. And I don't know if I'll get there, but I do know that I will miss you. If I have to leave, I will really, really miss you. And I know that you got my back and everything. And um, we ended up in the desert for an entire day, right up until it was really dark, so that we could go into a cabin with no lights and be stupid. And then he kept going, okay, we really have to do the vocal scene. And I went, no, no vocal scenes. I'll just be singing while I'm meandering around in here looking for a place to sit. And that's basically how we went for it. And I wanted it to be all a little. My son Casey said, Dad, they actually had you running in that video? And I said, oh yeah. And every time I said I thought they were going to stop, they'd keep going more, more, more. And I almost passed out.
So so did you run all the way to Bloody, Bruised, and Beautiful too?
um, so Bloody Bruised and Beautiful landed on my desk as well. I loved the music and I kind of liked the vocal. And I went, something's missing, something's missing.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to the writer, Giancarlo Floridia, who's new to the label of writers. And
Carlo's a standout. His name didn't start with an A, so we're good.
it
Carlo.
does not. It's okay. So it's not Guido, but
Yeah.
it's Giancarlo.
Carlo.
Yeah, Carlo. And I talked to him and he goes, oh, bro, you're going to use that song? And I said, can I just make a few changes? Do whatever you want, dude. Right. And so I made some changes to it. And the song basically, we chatted, basically is about a kid who had a really bad upbringing, abusive parents, um, made him feel the lowest of the low, not good enough for anything.
Hmm.
And then he became a dad himself, got away from home, and had his own son and his own daughter. And it was reflective. It's like went back
Hmm.
there, how bloody, bruised, and beautiful his life was, and the beauty he had to go through all of that to garner his new family. And he goes, "This will never happen to them. We're in a better place." But the
Hmm.
scars, which is what the whole middle section. I wear my
Yeah.
scars, for all my life, as to remind me of my sacrifice. And when I wrote that down, he goes, dude, this is just killing me, man. This is killing me. This is just wrapping the whole sentiment up. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking. And I went, sometimes two heads, and it's always, I tell Red Beats this all the time. It's always a chord structure in the song that tells me what it is I'm supposed to be singing. That sounds so cheesy. I know it does. But sometimes I'm lost and I have no idea where it's going to come from. And then I'll hear a progression. I'll go,
Yeah.
it's like there's a little voice that just went, hey, this is what you're supposed to write at this point.
And
And
then you're found, and all of a sudden you're offering a connection to somebody who's listening, who's going to tap into that and have their own reflection. Does the reflection continue? Because there's a couple of other songs that I want to ask about, Wonders of the World and One Good Reason. There seems to be a sense of reflection and yearning in those. Are those are
yes,
those
that was
the
the
same
Wonder of
thing?
the
Or?
World was another song from Giancarlo and another writer called David Julian.
Yeah.
And they sent me, that was another song that Aldo had sent. He sent Soulbound, Bloody Bruised. Wonders were the three that I actually picked out of, I think, five or six that he sent me.
Mm.
Wonders came to me, and it kind of it had a sort of a it had a sort of almost like a new wavy kind of a vibe to the music. And I went, this is kind of cool. But I hated the demo. I didn't like the vocal. I didn't like the melody. It made
Yeah.
it. No, this is wrong. This is not supporting the music. The music is good. The music is good. So I asked Aldo just for the music. I said, just strip that vocal away. I don't want to hear any vocal. Not because I had to write it. Nothing at
Right,
all.
right. Yeah.
Nothing. Because Soulbound was
Mm.
not at all like that. Um, and so he sent me back the track, and I went, oh, this is great. This is great. And I started to write, and the chord progression again. When I see the seven wonders of the world, all I see is you.
Yeah.
You are a wonder to behold. And when I sent it back to him, I think he was crying. He go, bro, where did you find that, bro? And he's such an LA, he's such an LA dude, bro. Where did you find that? If it's not bro, it's bro. And he was like going, oh my God. And I said, hey, I just learned this morning. I think they're gonna maybe drop this one as a single. And he was like beside himself. And I said, I wasn't written with that in mind.
Yeah.
I wrote it for the music that I heard, and it tied into Bloody Bruised and Beautiful lyrically,
Yeah.
um, as a sort of a glow of light, a positive energy. When I see the seven wonders, it's like
Yeah.
all is not lost. All is not lost, because there it is. There's that beacon of light, and we always say, "Oh, a higher power." I'm one of those people, Guido. I don't mind telling you, if I love God, I love God. I
Yeah.
don't say higher power because I'm afraid I might offend somebody, so I go, "Oh, say universal God." I It's okay. He's my God. You
Yeah.
have your God. Go run with it. And that's what I felt. That's exactly what I felt. And I think that was exactly what I wrote after Bloody Bruised and Beautiful. And I went, this is an obvious transition for me because my mind was still inside that that little picture frame. And and that's what came out. I don't think too much about, oh my God, is people going to hate this? I can't think like I can't I don't think
No,
I
listen.
don't think
It's a
about
great.
anybody listening to the music when I'm I don't think about anybody listening to
It's a great message that you're saying here too, right? Like it's like we get so tied up in thinking what others are going to think of us that we could become somebody else or try to become something that we think people want us to be. Then we could just be yourself, and they're probably just going to love you for what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
And it's really phenomenal to listen to how you've transitioned some of these songs and created this thing called Soulbound. As you've tweaked and maneuvered things around, it's almost like you knew what you wanted to do with the album, or the theme and what you wanted to do with it musically, and then lyrically you kind of tweak things as you went along with it. The direction kind of kept growing from whatever
yeah.
whatever
And
whatever initial
it's
seed
not
you
it's
planted.
not a what people go, it's not a
Yeah,
concept album. Not it's not.
yeah,
It's just I tried to create a book, a beginning, a middle, and an end, because I purposely ended the whole album with there was a man. The
yeah.
story goes he had a plan. And
And he
and
did. He did.
yeah, and that's kind of, I went, okay, this
Yeah,
is the whole thing was making sense to me, and that's really important to bring across to me. And just like you said, I couldn't sit here thinking, oh, people are going to die, and I
yeah.
can't. I don't have time for that, actually.
Let me ask you something. We talked about all the music you're doing, and earlier you said, like I'm so busy now. I'm so much more into music. I've created all these albums. I'm working on all this music. Now, the industry is not always kind to longevity at times. Did you ever feel pressure to
Really?
walk away from music, like, and say, I'm done with this? Like, and I know you went through some earlier transitions, but later, and if you did feel that, what forces pulled you? Every time I try to leave, they pull me back in. What pulled you back in? And what was the moment you thought, you know what, I got a ton more that I want to say here?
My wife.
Was it?
Oh, my wife, all the time. If I had a penny, as they say, I had a penny for every time I've said, I'm done. I am so done. I see stuff. in the media. I read stuff and I go, ah, I can't even listen to that anymore. I'm just so done with it. So it's just so boring. And it's like the same. And people are just so bent on criticizing and saying horrible
Yeah.
things about people. And I'm going, I'm done. And I've always said it to her for years, for years. In fact, she will always go, you've been saying this for like 30 years. Um, and that is, there's what makes me what makes me go crazy with the exit door is um I have to be careful here, but there are a lot of artists
Yeah.
who are still performing and not like they used to.
Right.
Not like they used to.
Yeah.
So it's no wonder that the industry is going, really, you know, dude, I think
Yeah.
it's time. Um, and yet they go out and charge enormous
Mm.
amounts of money for tickets for people to come see them. And when they advertise and when the marketing people advertise, they play the hit songs like they were sung. That is not what you're going to get when you go there. And I think that's just it's a travesty. It's a tragedy. It's just not right. And I always have said to my wife, and I went, I know you will tell me. She goes, you're damn right I'll tell you. And I said, my eyesight's still pretty good. And when I'm on stage, I see a lot more than people think I can see. And so if there's little whisperings or little nudges, because Macaulay's just dropped a couple of notes, you know, and I said, I will see it, and I won't even come out for the last song because I go, see ya. and 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 that bugs me. And I am not at any great level of grandeur. I'm still pretty much where I was born, about the fourth rung from the bottom of the ladder. And there's a few people that know my songs, but there's a hell of a lot of people who don't even know who I am and will never know who I am. But for those that do, and when I walk out there and they go, can I hear this? I want to be able to walk out and sing it like I recorded it, or as near as damn it, and make it worth the effort
Yeah.
for them, and just to come and say hello and have nice things to say. Because at the end of the day, it's your art, it's your artistry, it's your music, it's what you set out to love, is what I still love. And I don't want to shortchange anybody just by a real shitty performance.
Can you get any more real? Holy jeez. Can you
And
get
no,
any
no,
more
but that's
real?
that's
Wow.
I mean, doesn't it make sense though? Because
Yeah.
there's so much of that going on that just isn't like that, and I don't want to go that far
Yeah.
down the road. I don't want to leave and go just one more. I promise the next one will be better. I'm already stressing out about Sunday night in front of the record label, whom I've never met before, and go because they go, I wonder if he sounds like the record.
You're gonna sound like the record.
Oh
I
God,
got a feeling
no,
you're gonna
no.
sound like the record. You're gonna pull things off and you're gonna sound great, Robin. I was gonna say, and you've talked so much about your wife. What roles do friends and family play? Is your wife your first listener of the song, or is family the first
Oh
listener?
my God. Oh, that is a perfect good question. She will not listen to a rough mix. Is it a rough mix? I don't want to hear it. Play me the finished version. That's all she wants to hear. Because if I play her the unfinished or the rough mix,
Yeah.
I'm going to be cutting across the top, going, well, of course you do understand that right in there. I have to, but she does not want to know. Is this the
Is she
finished
your toughest
version?
critic?
Oh my God. Yeah, big time. Big time. But she'll be the very first person. She'll be the very first person
Yeah.
to have it on her playlist, and know it inside out, and um listen to tracks that I don't even listen to. Um and then she will always, for every record that I've ever made, um she'll always go, is that one about me? Or is there a song on here about me? And of course my answer to that is always, every single one of them are about you. But she is, yeah, she is, because she used to work, when I first met her, she worked for a teen magazine out of Vienna, Austria.
Wow.
Um, and she was a great photographer, which is how I met her. and she spoke no English. I spoke pretty decent German
Wow.
Austrian, Austrian German
Austrian.
when I first met her. Um, and now she speaks better English than I do, and she's very, very, very well accomplished woman. So, but I do nothing compared to what she does. I do nothing. Yeah.
This is phenomenal. And it's funny, like you can ask somebody a question at the start of an interview and they can give you an answer. And then you can just talk to them and listen throughout the rest of the interview. And everything that they say just is so honest and true to their original statement. Because let's be honest, we've been together for about an hour, longer than I thought
I'm sorry.
you'd enter. No, no, that I figured. I said to you before we started, you're gonna cut me off at some point and say that's enough. I had enough of your questions. But having had this opportunity and privilege, all the things that you claimed at the beginning. There's no way that you could do this and all those things not be true, and especially when it comes to your family and your wife,
Well,
and the love for what you do.
I like what we're doing
Yeah.
because, and I mean this sincerely, folks. Um, I don't like interviews. I like a conversation. I like to have a chat. It's best to have a chat. I think there's more relaxation and in a chat, like you're sitting in a bar over a beer and go, hey, remember that? Uh, interviews are too cut and dry. They're too. Let me ask you this, and you tell me
Right.
this. I don't know. I'm having fun. It's a bit like this. I feel like I'm in the studio. I feel like we're, I'm going to double track this next chorus, by the way.
That's awesome, man. I'm in the studio with Robin McCullough. You know what I don't get here? Like you're sitting here going, yeah, I don't know if anybody really knows who Robin McCauley is, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like you talk about all the music and the hits and the bands you've played with and what you're doing now. What do you like? Where does something like I don't know if people know who Robin McCauley like? Where does that come from?
I'm not exactly a household name. Um, that's for sure. That's for sure. That kind of seems funny to me. Um, I honest to
Is
God, I honest to God just make music, and if somebody hears it, sometimes I'm actually honestly embarrassed by it. For example, my wife always said, "You're not very good at taking a compliment. Just say thank you for God's sake." And I'm going, "Oh, was that a compliment?" Because huh? They were just asking me. um, it's not that I'm completely oblivious of what goes on around me. I'm not. I'm not. I'm actually a very bright person. It's just,
you're
I'm
humble? You're so humble
very,
about it.
very grateful.
Yeah.
I'm forever grateful that I've had an opportunity, and I keep referring to my age, and at my age, I shouldn't. I don't, at least in my mind, I have a lot to do. I hope I can do. There's some amazing projects going on that I'm working on right now that are, I don't want to say not rock related. They are, but they have a twist to them that people will go, "Really, Dave? You're going to do that?" And that's the smile on my face for next week,
Right
because I'm
on.
going, "Oh, this is great. This is going to be cool. This is something new." And it takes me to I'm already thinking that
Yeah.
it's like I have
It's
something to look forward to, and
It's inspiring, and that's the other part. It's inspiring. Anybody who's listening, it's inspiring to see you continue to do this work and to do it from the place that you're doing it from. And again, there's so much humbleness in how you're approaching it.
oh
With all of us. You mentioned social media earlier, Robin. You have a website, robinmccauley.com.
yes.
But I think you also said Facebook. Do you have a favorite? Where do we connect? Where's the best place to connect? Because it seems like lately. And
Well,
I was on your site, by the way. I got to say this
you
before you
can,
answer.
yeah, you can go to admin, Robin McCauley admin.com.
Okay.
That's my official sort of website. Then I have an official Facebook. I don't use pseudonyms. It's all Robin McCauley. Same for Instagram. Um,
What's your
I
favorite?
what's my favorite? I guess the official Facebook. I'm more. more on there usually. Um, um, if people comment, I have a habit of answering. I try to answer everybody. If somebody
Right
gives
on.
it a like, I try to give it a like back just so that they see that I did see it. I think it's important to reach out to people because if they take a minute, why why can't I? If I have a minute, it's your minute. Your minute's my minute, you know.
That's awesome. That's
Um,
good to hear.
and that's important. It's important. My mom raised us all to say, two things in life, please and thank you, cost absolutely nothing and
Yeah.
takes a second of your time. So always remember, we raised our boys the same way. Please and thank you, cost nothing. Open a door for somebody, even if they can open it themselves, you open it for them, let them know that they're there, and that's okay. And if life was more like that, we'd be a great place.
You
We're
got a
get
good
we're getting there. We have a long way to go,
We do,
unfortunately.
but you got a good mom there too, and you got a good wife, and you got a good family. Look, man, I did. I've kept you way longer than you agreed to
I
be
have
here.
had a deal of fun, and I'm dying to hear your daughter's first song at number one. So
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, you know what? Thank you for mentioning that. See that there's your kindness. Yeah, my daughter did release a song earlier last fall. It was called Coming Soon, and yeah, 16 years old, and she's writing music, and I'm a fan of hers. I'm a fan of hers. It's wonderful what children can teach us, you know.
oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. Um, Look, I've asked you a lot of questions. Is there anything that you want to leave us with before we close things out?
Oh, be kind. Love everybody. Love yourself first of all, because you can't love somebody else if you don't love yourself. Um, and say hello to the person beside you. Thank you, Guido. This has been awesome. Jody said you were going to be fantastic. She underrated you by a lot. I will text her right now and tell her. This has been a huge amount of fun. More like a conversation than an interview. And anybody that's listening, if you fancy listening to Black Swan, there's a new record coming. Probably by the end of the year, it'll be Black Swan number 3. Don't have an official title, but we'll post it on my official Facebook page, and Frontiers Music SRL will tell you everything that I'm doing for them. Um, Instagram, and come and say hello, and I'll try very, very hard to say hello back, and be happy, and listen to all the music. Don't let people tell you that you should only listen to one genre because they don't like the rest of them. There's so much music. Open your ears, and there's a lot of room between your ears. Take it all in. You'll be surprised how much you actually like it. It's too what a waste if we don't listen to it all. So yeah.
How beautiful. And we got Black Swan, end of the year 2025. We got new music coming. That's exciting to hear. That is Robin McAuley. Robin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here with me today. Your journey has been nothing short of legendary. And with Soulbound, you've proven once again that the fire's still burning. It's raw, it's real, and it's unmistakably you. As we wrap, we're reminded that you've given fans the best of me, shown us the wonders of the world through your voice, and still have one good reason after another to keep making music. Whether it's the anthem energy of Till I Die or the raw honesty of Bloody, Bruised, and Beautiful, your work continues to hit hard and speak soul-bound deep. So here's to what's next, whether it's more shows, more songs, or just a little paradise off the road. You'll always be soul bound to the music, and the music's bound to you. I'll have Robin's socials in the show notes. You'll hear their new music on thepathradio.com. Thank you again so much, Robin. Until next time, rock on.
Thank you so much. God bless you all, and I'll see you on the road. Bye bye.
Peace.